Hi, everybody. Greg from Avid here. We are at NAMM 2020. I'm not even exactly sure what just happened, but we had the immense honor of having Mr. Quincy Jones and the man to my left right here, Mr. Jimmy Jam, grace us and bless us on our Avid main stage. What was supposed to be a half hour, it ended up being quite a lot more because people just wanted to be around the energy that Quincy and that you, Jimmy, bring. First of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be than in a room with Quincy Jones. So it was such an honor to talk to him today.
Yeah, well, it was an absolute honor, and again, thank you. So, you've been extremely busy. Obviously, we know you've been in LA for a long time, but I don't really get the opportunity to talk to you that much. I mean, you've been extremely busy over the last few years, and certainly right now, it's the Grammys are upon us, and
Yes.
you're working on this really amazing show. Anything you kind of want to let us in on a little bit?
Well, the Grammy show is going to be amazing beyond anything that I can remember seeing, at least on paper, for a really long time, because there's such a great array of brand new artists that we love, whether it's Lizzo or Billie Eilish. From that side of things, Lil Nas X, you name it. I mean, it's just the new music is really wonderful. Aerosmith will be part of the show, the legends, because you got to have the legends, and everything kind of in between sprinkled into that. Run DMC is joining Aerosmith, which will be a historic performance that hasn't happened in a long time. And so there's a lot of great elements of the show. And then the thing that also excites me is a couple of days after the actual Grammy show, we're going to tape the Prince special, which is entitled Let's Go Crazy,
Nice.
a Grammy salute to Prince. And I can tell you on that show, from the original time, my band back together again, the original Revolution, Sheila E., all the people who you'd want to see, plus a great array of people like Chris Martin from Coldplay, and it's just an amazing lineup of people. Her, Gary Clark Jr., Usher. I mean, just people who have all been influenced, and who hasn't been influenced by Prince's music. So to me, it's an exciting week coming up of really great things.
Well, we can't wait to see what you've got in store. I mean, thank you for sharing some of that with us. So again, with your schedule, you've got such an amazing history of music that you've worked on. As a writer, as a producer, as you've done it all. How do you find time? I mean, to just find some peace and get back to center.
Well, if music is the center, it's the thing that really brings us all together, right? It's the thing that has, music is the thing that's taken me around the world. The reason that I know other countries and other people, and it's the great thing for our life, right? It goes with everything, right? So, it's the reason we're speaking now is music has brought us together. The reason we're in a room with Quincy Jones is because music has brought us together. And every night we go to the studio and we create music, but we know that we're creating a language that, as I said today, it's time travel. It's your soundtrack for whatever immediately is happening, but also 20 years from now, hearing that song will time travel you back to that, that location or whatever that is. So it's such a blessing to be able to do it. It's such a privilege to be able to do it. And so it's not even anything I try to find the time to do. It just naturally happens. Yeah. And it's whether it's talking music, meeting people over music, creating music, whatever, it all comes back to music.
Wow, love that. So, obviously you were on stage with Quincy. You guys have such a great rapport, and that was really amazing to see. That was really, really, really special. Tell us what that was like. I mean, obviously Quincy for a long time, but being on stage with him and just talking about that stuff, hearing some of the, your kind of stories about, what he means to you. I mean, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Now he's not here,
Yeah.
but tell us a little bit about what that means to you. Quincy Jones, the legendary, icon, how he's kind of informed you as a musician and as a producer.
Well, two things come to mind. One is that Terry and myself are working on our own album, because in checking the boxes of things we haven't done, I call it the bucket list. Terry calls it the list. Can bleep that. But anyway, but it's all the things we haven't done. So we never did our own album, and the reason is because when we started working on our own album, which was about 35 years ago,
Wow.
there was a song that we had done for our album that John McClain, who was A&Ring the Control album for Janet, said that Janet needed that song. So we played it for Janet, and Janet said, "Oh, I want that song." That song ended up becoming "What Have You Done for Me Lately." So it got her career going. It ended ours, at least as artists. It ended ours, but it got us obviously into doing the producing thing. Our album is very much patterned after the way Quincy made all of his great albums, which was, we don't sing, but we think we can produce singers, we can produce musicians, and we can do that well. So our album is everybody from people like friends of ours, Mary J. Blige, Janet Jackson, Babyface, a million people. But they're all doing what they do best, and we're basically giving them songs that we would like to hear them sing, and that's what they're doing. And that's very much in concert of what Quincy talks about when he does his album. And he mentioned writing a song for Frank Sinatra at one point in time, and it ended up becoming a whole different song for a whole different person. So that kind of thing happens a lot, and we're kind of in the middle of that. The other thing that Quincy did for us, besides inspiring us to do our own album as producers, but the other thing he did was back when we did Patty Austin, we were known at that point as kind of guys that could make groovy, groove music, funk music, right? And when Clarence Avant was a person that actually hooked us and Quincy together, and he told Quincy, "Hey, Quincy, I got these two young guys, you should let them do something." And he said, "Okay, cool." And we said, "For Quincy Jones?" And we got like a big orchestra, and we got all this stuff, and all of a sudden it was like, chord changes and jazz chords and all this different stuff.
Right.
But I remember when we played it for Quincy, he was so blown away by it. And we ended up doing a song called The Heat of Heat for Patty Austin, which ended up being a big record for her, a huge record for her. And it was one of our proudest moments. But what was great about it is that people all of a sudden didn't look at us as guys that could just do funk, right? All of a sudden we could do orchestral music. We could do, which led us to things like, Tender Love by the Force MDs, which was like
great
both hip hop and kind of classical at the same time. But it really opened up the doors for us to do it. Matter of fact, when we were going to do the Control album with Janet, the last record we had done before that was Patty Austin. And I remember they played that for Janet, and Janet said, I don't know that I really want my album to sound like that. And we were like, no, you're going to sound totally different. That was her, the lush strings and all that stuff. And so Quincy for us just directly just opened the doors to what we could do and made us know we didn't have to stick to one kind of music. We could do things that were sophisticated, chord changes and bridges and modulations and all of those kinds of music-informed things. But he gave us the opportunity to do that, and he trusted us. And we've really been friends since that. That was probably 84, I think that happened. So we've been friends since that.
That's incredible. And yeah, he put his trust in the right people. One last question I'd like to ask, so many, through our social channels and stuff, a lot of younger creators are clamoring. I mean, you saw some of that out there. I mean, and you know this in general, clamoring to learn and find how to do this and how to do that. Technology, with the availability of things like Pro Tools and, just so many things available right now.
Can I say thank goodness for Pro Tools?
You can definitely say that.
Thank goodness for Pro Tools. I remember, this is a long time back, but I remember thinking we were working, I think we were working with the Spice Girls, as a matter of fact. And I remember we were doing everything on analog tape at that point, which no hate on analog tape, we love it. But I remember we had our laptops, and we kept saying, and Pro Tools existed at this point, but you couldn't get in a laptop at that point, right? And I remember saying to somebody, we got a nice long plane ride back, like an 8-hour plane ride or whatever it is. Wouldn't it be great if we had all the vocals on the laptop and we could just do the vocal comps and all that as we're sitting on the plane with headphones? And I remember somebody saying, or somebody who was familiar with Pro Tools said, "Oh, we're working on that. You're going to be able to do that. It's all going to be in your laptop and you can just do it." And when that happened, about a year later, that actually happened. And talk about really changing the course of the way you're able to create because of that and the things you're able to do. I remember the last Janet album we did about 3-4 years ago, there's a couple of songs that I literally, the working titles were the flight that I was on the plane as I'm composing the song, And so, yeah, no, that technology is amazing. And Terry and I's album, we're mixing in 11.2 surround.
Wow.
And we're using Pro Tools to do it. And so, so thank God for Pro Tools. So I know that doesn't have anything to do with your question, but as you bring that up, I mean, it changes the the things you can do. Now, still to me, well, it actually I was going to say it doesn't create good music if there's no good music, but actually there are some people that I know that are making music that I don't think is that good, but Pro Tools makes it sound good for some reason. You'll go unnamed. I'm not going to name any names, but
I think you just became our new marketing person here at Avid. No, but yeah, thank you. That's wow. That's a lot of good stuff there. But for all those young creators, people who are trying to get things done with all these tools they have available to them, what are some things, or what's one thing they really need to kind of keep present in their mind, in your opinion?
Well, you're going to get a bunch of different opinions from a bunch of different people, and they're all going to be valid.
Sure.
I think. My thing, it always goes back to the song. Okay, that's always for me the most important element. And my analogy for that is, when you go to a restaurant and the chef serves you something really great, and you go, "Oh, tell the chef that we love the meal," or "Can we meet the chef?" Right? So the chef to me is like the artist, because they're the ones that bring you the meal, right? If the sound and the record is the meal, that's what the artist is bringing. The songwriters are the farmers. They're the ones that are growing the crops and making sure that the chefs have something great to present, right? So I always say there's nothing to produce. Everybody talks about us as producers, which is great, but we're songwriters. And because the songs we write, we just produce them, right? But without the songs, there's nothing to produce. So I always say that, to me, the root of everything is the song. You create a great song, and then after that, it doesn't matter. You do it in Pro Tools, you do it in, I don't know that we mention other names, Logic or whatever. You do it in whatever is comfortable for you. And then whether it's vinyl, back in the day, cassettes, 8 tracks, doesn't matter. The delivery systems all change, and that part changes. But the root of it, which is the song, that doesn't change. That's still got to be good. It's got to relate to somebody in some sort of way, whether it's lyrically, melodically, whatever that is. It's got to touch people and move people. It's like a language that, it's like a world language, right? If you're in a crowd, and it was a great crowd today, it was so diverse, young, old, black, white, people around the world, wonderful. That's what music does, right? And you get that right music together, when you started playing those Quincy tracks, those Quincy loops. By the way, I need that package. Okay. So, you started playing those Quincy loops, and everybody, I don't care who you're looking at, black, white, it doesn't matter, everybody's, into that. And that language, man, I call it the divine art, man. It's like the divine language, man. And so that, to me, it always starts with the song. So that's my advice, just in general, write a good song. I think that's the key to everything.
Well, there you have it. That's the key to everything. Jimmy, thank you so very much. This has been absolutely amazing. We cannot thank you enough.
Thanks,
it's been an absolute honor, and we look forward to hearing that album.
Yeah,
that's going to be amazing.
It's going to be wonderful. I hope people really, really enjoy it, and we're enjoying the process of making it. And people keep asking me, when's it going to be finished? And I keep going, it's not ready to be finished yet. It's just not. We're just enjoying the process of it happening, and we've waited a long time to do it. I've known Terry, we go back 47 years or something like that now at this point. So we've been doing it a long time. So we just enjoy the process of doing it. But look forward summer of this year.
All right, we cannot wait. Again, Jimmy, thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Greg. Appreciate it.